Homage to Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to Manjushri, homage to all the lineage masters. Profound and subtle dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate all sentient beings, please generate unsurpassed bodhicitta. Now we are going to discuss the empowerment section in the Guhyagarbha Tantra. We have already finished the section on the mandala. In fact, Mifam Rinpoche's an overview of the Guhyagarbha Tantra follows a specific sequence. When we start practicing secret mantra, the view is crucial, so the view is taught first. Without the view of the inseparable purity and evenness, you cannot succeed in any Vajrayana practice. That is why this was explained first. Once you have the view, you must put it into practice. In terms of practice, we focus on meditative concentration. How can you practice if your mind is not settled? It is simply impossible. So, of course, our minds can abide at various levels of stability. Therefore, the 9 methods of placing the mind were taught to address the aspect of meditative concentration. After explaining the meditative concentration, if you want to formally engage in Vajrayana, you need to receive empowerment and adopt actual Vajrayana conduct. At that point, the text previously mentioned Vajrayana conduct, which is related to the mandala. Vajrayana relies on the mandala, but everyone's conduct in relation to it is different. So the text first explains what these Vajrayana conducts are. It explains that conduct is inseparable from the view, the practice, and the mandala. After that, it discusses empowerment, followed by the Samaya vows. So regarding the practice of secret mantra, nowadays in the Han region, there are so many people practicing it. For example, when traveling on a train, if people see someone wearing the robes of Tibetan Buddhism, many will come up and ask, "Are you from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition? I want to practice secret mantra." Currently, many monastics in the Han region want to benefit sentient beings through this path. Moreover, they feel that it carries a special blessing and a unique power. Many people are doing this. However, if we are to study secret mantra, we must do so formally, moving from the preliminaries to the main practice. Regarding the main practice, as we are currently discussing in the Guhyagarbha Tantra, everyone should understand it from a theoretical level. With a theoretical understanding, a wise person will not easily regress. Otherwise, if you enter the path based only on hearsay, thinking that secret mantra is simply wonderful, then after a few days, without having gained any certain understanding, you might easily start to disparage the teachings. You might see the inappropriate behavior of some individuals or fail to understand certain points. Furthermore, when faced with the profound conduct and profound views of secret mantra, if you cannot penetrate them, it is very easy to develop wrong views. So while hearing and contemplation in the Sutrayana are very important, hearing and contemplation in the Vajrayana are also vital. As long as you truly have faith and wish to practice secret mantra, you should at least have an understanding of the basics: the view, practice, conduct, and result. I hope that all of you in your daily lives and throughout your practice will never forget this. Please keep it deeply in your hearts. Today we are moving on to the topic of empowerment. I think many followers of Tibetan Buddhism are very fond of empowerments, regardless of who is conferring them. They fail to examine the Guru or the Dharma beforehand. As long as there is an empowerment, as His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche often said, they pounce like a hungry dog finding a piece of meat. For instance, imagine a starving stray dog. If it finds a piece of meat, it doesn't care what kind of meat it is at all. It just swallows it down immediately. Many practitioners do the same. Whenever there's an empowerment, they don't even know who the Guru is. Only after the empowerment is over do they start calling around asking, "Where is this Guru from? He just gave me an empowerment, but something seems a bit off." Many people act this way, but they have the sequence all wrong. Logically, you should make those calls and overserve the Guru first, and only then seek the empowerment. But at the beginning, when someone says, "We have an empowerment here, do you want to come?" They reply, "Yes, yes, I'll be right there. My car is restricted today, so I can't drive, but I can take a taxi and come over immediately." Even if they can't drive their own car, they'll still take a taxi to get there. Once they arrive, they listen through the whole empowerment. After everything is finished, they walk out and start asking everyone, "What is this Guru really like? What's the deal with this Guru? Because he just gave me an empowerment, but it didn't seem quite authentic." It is explained as follows. Empowerment is also divided into its nature, distinctions, how empowerment is established, and the purpose. First, we will discuss the nature. In the Guhyagarbha Tantra, it says, "For the faithful, the diligent, and those with an excellent realization of fearless conduct, gradually confer the beneficing and enabling empowerments and care for disciples with compassion so their lives will not be wasted." And care for disciples with compassion so their lives will not be wasted. The verse mentions that originally there are many types of empowerments in secret mantra. For example, in the outer tantras, Kriya, Charya, and Yoga Tantra, there are simple ones like the water empowerment of Kriya Tantra. There are also some empowerments in Charya Tantra. I think we discussed this when teaching the ascertainment of the three types of vows. However, according to the perspective of Mahayoga and the Guhya Garbha Tantra, there should be 18 types of empowerments. First, there are the outer beneficing empowerments for the faithful. For the faithful refers to those with faith. They receive 10 types known as the outer beneficing empowerments. I believe this was mentioned in the Finding Rest in the Nature of Mind. There are 10 outer beneficing empowerments in total. We might go into more detail later, but they mainly consist of these 10. First, there is the diadem empowerment, involving a Buddha crown as a head ornament. Then there is the crown empowerment, representing the headpieces of the 5 Buddhas. There are also the mala, armor, victory banner, parasol, vasa, and mudra. The mudra symbolizes the insignias of various deities. Then there is food and drink empowerment, plus the 5 essences. That makes 10, right? Let's see, I'll count them again if I missed any. Why are you laughing? Diadem, crown, parasol, victory banner, armor, jewel, vase, mudra, food and drink, and the 5 essences. Yes, that should be 10. So there are 10 outer beneficing empowerments and 5 enabling empowerments. These are for the diligent. The previous ones were for those with faith. For the faithful, as the verse says. Let me check the Tibetan text. Yes, for the faithful, the diligent. There are 5 types of enabling empowerments. These are conferred upon the diligent, those who put in great effort. There are 5 of these. The empowerment of listening, the empowerment of explanation, the empowerment of activity, the empowerment of the king of Vajra masters, and the empowerment of the accomplishment of practice. That makes 5. Then for those with an excellent realization of fearless conduct. This is for practitioners with the view of purity and evenness. These are the practitioners of evenness who no longer cling to pure or impure. For them, we have what we usually call the secret empowerment, the wisdom empowerment, and the word empowerment. These are the 3. So there are 10 outer, 5 inner, and 3 secret empowerments. According to the Guhya Garbha Tantra, there are 18 in total. With these 18 empowerments, a compassionate guru, one filled with great compassion, guides students of different capacities in a gradual sequence. This means that if someone has faith, they are given the 10 outer empowerments. If they have diligence on top of that faith, they receive the 5 enabling empowerments as well. Furthermore, if they have faith, diligence, and no longer cling to pure or impure, becoming someone who truly understands the view of the inseparable purity and evenness, then the 3 secret empowerments are conferred upon them. These 18 empowerments follow the sequence of the Tantras to lead one to completion. Moreover, this method is not like some modern empowerments where no matter who the people are, everyone receives it at once. According to the levels described in the Tantras, it might not be quite like that. However, many masters in Tibetan Buddhism today might give, for example, the Kala Chakra empowerment to everyone all at once. The Guhya Garbha Tantra empowerment is often given the same way, but according to the tantric requirements, Vajrayana precepts and Bodhisattva vows should be taken in a specific order. This includes Vajrayana empowerments, Mahayana Bodhisattva vows, and Pratimoksha vows. Pratimoksha vows, like the various levels of lay vows, have their own sequence. For example, there are different categories like taking 1, 2, or all 5 precepts. Then there are the Shramanera and Shramanérika vows for novices. And for full ordination, there are the Bhikshu and Bhikshuni vows. Each has its own distinct level. However, once you take the Pratimoksha vows, you don't keep receiving them over and over. You either keep them or retake them if lost. Unlike Vajrayana, you don't receive them every single day. Unlike the Bodhisattva vows, which can be taken every day to continuously increase your merit, there is no such tradition for the Pratimoksha vows. So the ritual procedures are quite different. For instance, with the Pratimoksha vows, if you take the lay vows, you receive them all at once. After that, you work on maintaining that vow for the rest of your life. In the Vajrayana, however, if a vow is broken, there are ways to restore it multiple times. Moreover, there are daily practices that help increase one's merit. When it comes to empowerment, if you can receive it from various qualified gurus, it will significantly strengthen the power of the Vajrayana Samaya in your mind stream. If you cannot find a guru nearby, you can still receive it on your own. A while ago, I distributed a text for the Guru Rinpoche empowerment. One way is to use it to confer empowerment on others. But more importantly, you should use the path empowerment to receive it yourself every time. For example, we can visualize being in the presence of Guru Rinpoche. If a guru is truly hard to find and you are in a positive state of mind, you can pray to Guru Rinpoche to receive the empowerment yourself. Since it all depends on your intention, the merit would be immense. Furthermore, this can restore the Vajrayana Samaya in your mind stream. Just like the Bodhisattva vows, there are different levels too. For those with superior faculties, there are many precepts, such as the 20 root vows or the 18 ones. For those with middling faculties, it's about observing the 4 white dharmas and abandoning the 4 black dharmas. For those with duller faculties, they should at least maintain the aspirational bodhicitta. So there are different levels based on one's capacity. Similarly, in the Vajrayana, empowerments are given according to one's capacity. In principle, the stages and capacities are all distinct. It is better if all of you can understand these principles clearly. Thus, as taught, if the meaning of abhikenza is translated, abhe means to become evident, and kenza means to disperse or pour. It carries the meaning of both dispersing and pouring. Therefore, by relying upon the profound empowerment conferral ritual of mantra, the stains of the disciples' 3 doors are cleansed or dispersed both individually and collectively. That is the explanation of dispersing. Then what about pouring or infusing? The genuine potential for the arising of the wisdom that matures as the 4 Vajras is placed or poured into the disciples' mind streams. So this is very important. Many people don't really know what empowerment is. If it were just a matter of pouring some water from a vase, then there wouldn't be much to it. On the surface, it looks like an infusion as the water is poured onto your head. But if we only relied on that, remember the vase is just made of materials like copper or iron, and the water inside is just mineral water or something similar. So there wouldn't be anything special about it. However, as we will explain later, the ritual water and the empowerment phase are no longer ordinary objects because the power they hold varies entirely depending on the guru's visualization. For example, I often think that many objects used in empowerment are quite like chemical reactions in the worldly sense. In a chemical reaction, you put different substances together and they produce various kinds of energy and effects. Empowerment works in a similar way. The blessings are added through meditative concentration, mudras, and mantras. Some are added through various sacred substances. These all carry a certain power. Additionally, we often use the Sanskrit term abhikenza. Abhikenza means empowerment. We often hear phrases like kaya abhikenza, vaka abhikenza, sita abhikenza. Kaya refers to the empowerment of the body, vaka to that of speech. And Sita Abhikenza is the empowerment of the wisdom or the mind. So Abhikenza has 2 layers of meaning. Abhe means to manifest, and Kenza means to disperse and infuse. So what are dispersing and infusing? They rely on the profound rituals of secret mantra composed by the great masters of the past, like His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. In the past, Guru Rinpoche and Khandro Yeshe Tsogyal personally conferred empowerments on him. There is an empowerment ritual for the Guya Galpa Tantra. His Holiness gave this empowerment several times before. By relying on such a ritual, which is the Vajra speech of a highly realized being, to receive empowerment, the first effect is to wash away the obscurations of the body, speech, and mind. This is vital, purifying these obstacles of the body, speech, and mind. It also involves the equal portion of the 3 gates which exist within our mind stream. There are subtle habitual tendencies and seeds of the body, speech, and mind within the alaya. It acts to wash away the stains and obstacles associated with those seeds. Of course, when we say wash away, we shouldn't think only of water. For instance, in the word empowerment, it isn't water that does the washing. Yet, it still has the meaning of purification. Through objects like crystals, the subtle seeds within our mind stream or alaya are entirely cleared. This too can be called washing. So everyone must understand this first function of empowerment. Otherwise, when people receive it today and we ask them what the empowerment is, they don't know. They might think guan means pouring water and ding means the top of the head. So guan ding just means pouring some water on the head, right? I suppose that's what they think. They would say, I'm also a bit unclear on these things myself. I haven't researched it deeply. However, I still have great faith in this area. I have had deep faith in Vajrayana for a very long time. How can I explain it? I can't really put it into words. Anyway, I just have faith, but that isn't enough. As students of the secret mantra, we should have at least some understanding of all these aspects. First, empowerment has the meaning of purification. The second aspect involves the presence within one's own mind stream of the Vajra body, Vajra speech, Vajra mind, and Vajra wisdom. This means the three gates, body, speech, and mind, are transformed. When transformed into those of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are called the Vajra body, speech, and mind. When the alaya is transformed into ultimate wisdom, it is called Vajra wisdom. The special capacity of these four Vajras is directly infused into our mind stream. Our body, speech, and mind become inseparable from the Guru and the Buddha. For instance, if the empowerment of Manjushri is given, then Manjushri's four Vajras merge into one with me. If the empowerment of Avalokiteshvara is given, Avalokiteshvara's four Vajras merge into one with me. If the empowerment of the 1,000 Buddhas is given, the body, speech, and mind of 1,000 Buddhas merge into one with me. Everyone must understand this inner meaning of empowerment. Otherwise, receiving an empowerment would seem like nothing more than a very simple, superficial act. You should be clear on this. In the future, I hope you know what empowerment really is. You must understand its nature and the basic meaning of the term. You must understand it. Once you do, you'll see that any empowerment, no matter which one, carries this profound significance. On one hand, it purifies our karmic obscurations. On the other hand, the wisdom of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the four Vajras, is infused into us. It is a ceremony that accomplishes this, which is why it is called empowerment. This is its nature. Next, let's look at the distinctions. At the time of the ground, the four temporary stains are dispelled. The four paths are meditated upon. And in order to attain the four kayas at the time of the result, there are four kinds of empowerment. We often mention these four empowerments. When looking at the ground within, ground, path, and result, whether for humans or other sentient beings, we can put it this way. There are normally the four states: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and meditative absorption. Each of these four stages has its own specific obscurations. Therefore, to clear the obstacles of these four stages, in the process of practicing the path, there are the generation and completion stages. The completion stage includes completion with the own body method and completion with the other body method. Then there is the signless great perfection, which is the signless completion stage. By receiving empowerments through these four paths, one ultimately attains the fruit of the four kayas: Nirmana kaya, Sambhoga kaya, Dharma kaya, and Svabhavika kaya. Because these four types of stains must be cleared through the practice of these four paths. The V's, secret wisdom, and word empowerments are conferred. These are the four empowerments, and that is their purpose. Of course, these are the empowerments as taught in Mahayoga and Anuyoga. In the Ati Yoga of the great perfections, such as in the Lama Yangtik, the word empowerment is often used. The word empowerment is further divided into the elaborate, the unelaborate, the extremely unelaborate, and the utterly unelaborate empowerments. That is a different way of conferring empowerment. It doesn't strictly follow the preceding secret and wisdom empowerments, which are primarily emphasized in Mahayoga and Anuyoga. Naturally, in systems like the Kalachakra or Hevajra, there are also four empowerments similar to those of Mahayoga. So the main purpose behind the four empowerments mentioned here is the same. Now let's see how they respectively clear the obstacles of body, speech, and mind, and lead to the attainment of different wisdoms and kayas. The Vaz empowerment purifies the body and channels as the Nirmana Akaya. When we receive empowerments or practice Guru Yoga, we often receive the body empowerment. The vase empowerment is often used to represent the body empowerment. Its purpose is to purify our body and its internal channels into the Nirmanakaya. That is the objective of the vase empowerment. The secret empowerment purifies the speech and winds as the Sambhogakaya. Our speech ultimately becomes the Vajra speech, the purified Vajra speech. The winds or energy of the body are naturally restless. They must eventually be transformed and purified into the Sambhogakaya. This is the secret empowerment. The wisdom prajna empowerment purifies mental activity and the vital essence as the Dharmakaya. Our consciousness and the vital essences within the body, purifying these into the Dharmakaya, is called the wisdom empowerment. The word empowerment purifies the three doors collectively as the Abhisambodhikaya. As we discussed, the subtle habitual tendencies atop the alaya are purified into the Svabhavika kaya. This is the word empowerment. These four are as stated in the later Tantra. The latter part of the Guhyagarbha Tantra, probably the 22nd chapter. Chapters 21 and 22 are called the later Tantra. It says there, the Vajra Master, secret, prajna, and the immediate. In fact, the Guhyagarbha Tantra also teaches these four empowerments. Regarding these four, First is the Guru empowerment. The Guru empowerment refers to the vast empowerment mentioned earlier. The Guru visualizes light rays radiating and dissolving into the vase. All the deities dissolve into the vase and so forth. That is the practice. Just like the 10 beneficing empowerments, this is one category of empowerment. Within the Guru empowerment, both the 10 beneficing and 5 enabling empowerments of the Guhyagarbha Tantra can be included. And further on, it mentions the secret empowerment, the wisdom empowerment, and the immediate. The immediate is the fourth empowerment, the word empowerment, which allows for direct realizations. So in the Guhyagarbha Tantra, these are actually quite explicitly presented. It's just that the first one, the vase empowerment, is not directly called vase empowerment, but Guru empowerment. In this way, the overall meaning remains exactly the same. It refers to that precisely. That is the 4 empowerments we've been discussing. In addition, concerning these 4 empowerments, there are many individual explanations throughout the Tantras relating to the categories and diversity of the rituals. So they are also found in different terma texts. This includes certain names for empowerments used here, which differ from those in finding comfort and ease in the nature of mind, and from the terminology found in other tantric sections. For example, the 5 enabling empowerments. Those seem to also appear in finding comfort and ease in the nature of mind. When you have the chance, I hope you can refer to those texts more often, because in a 1-hour lecture, I simply cannot cover everything. If you have faith in the secret mantra, you shouldn't just rely on this. However, in Han region, resources on the secret mantra are not very abundant. The number of texts we have translated should be considered quite substantial now, beyond what I have briefly taught before. Not much has been translated into Chinese or even into English. Many gurus might teach some rather simple and direct methods. Those gurus who went to Western countries mostly arrived quite early. They began propagating the Dharma in places like the United States in the 1970s and 80s. Tibetan Buddhism has flourished quite well in Europe and America, but theoretically speaking, these deep principles should have been widely disseminated in the West by now. Yet fundamentally, there is still not a vast amount of material in this regard. This Tantra also teaches 3 empowerments, namely the benefiting, enabling, and profound. In the Guhyagarbha Tantra, it also explains the 10 types of beneficing empowerments, the 5 types of enabling empowerments, and the profound empowerments. They are divided into these 3. Conceptually speaking, we have beneficing, enabling, and profound empowerments. If the profound empowerment is included within the enabling, then there are 2. It can be included within the enabling empowerment. Within the enabling empowerments, there are finally the profound secret empowerment and the Guru as the king of teachings empowerment. These, in fact, can encompass the profound empowerment. If viewed this way, then actually this root Tantra can be summarized into only 2 types of empowerment. That would make it 2. If the profound empowerment is divided into 3, then there are 5. If the first 2 are beneficing and enabling empowerments, and the profound empowerment is not subsumed under enabling but kept separate, separating them into the secret, the wisdom, and the word empowerment. These 3, then the Guhyagarbha Tantra contains 5 types of empowerment in total. Either way of categorizing them works fine. If we follow the system of 5 empowerments, what kind of function do they serve? Through the first empowerment, the seeds are sown. As we just mentioned, there are the 10 types of beneficing empowerments. Whether it is the Buddha's crown, the jewel, or the precious parasol, each has a different capacity and symbolic function. Such an empowerment actually plants a capacity in our mind stream so that in a very short time, we can manifest the innate Buddha nature, the Sugatagarbha. That is the beneficing effect it has. So empowerment, to put it this way, is something we will discuss further when we get to the 2 causes and 4 conditions. If you yourself don't possess this Buddha nature at all, no amount of water poured on you will help. For instance, if a piece of clothing is inherently clean but has some dirt on it, you can wash it clean with soap or laundry detergent. But if the clothing itself is inherently impure, then no matter how much you wash it, there is simply no way. Similarly, within our mind stream, Buddha nature already exists in a hidden way. It is there, it has just been obscured by stains. In reality, the Sugatagarbha is present. Through empowerment, it can be made manifest in our experience. Therefore, the beneficing empowerment is meant to plant a seed first, acting to bring it to manifest in a very short period of time. First, it's the planting of the seed. Through the second, that potential matures. For example, once a seed is planted, it shouldn't just stay buried there forever. It must be brought to maturity quickly. If a farmer's seeds just stay in the ground forever, that's no good. They need to mature quickly. To mature, once empowerment is received, the Buddha nature in our mind stream matures very rapidly. I have felt this myself. Some people who have never received empowerment stay exactly the same. They started with a certain capacity. Yet after some people receive a few empowerments, they become completely different. Perhaps someone was very arrogant before, but after one or two empowerments, their arrogance vanishes and their mind becomes much more mature and functional. This is a phenomenon of maturity which can be described as the maturing capacity. Through the third, experience increases. Through the secret empowerment, by relying on a symbolic method, one is able to realize the wisdom of inseparable bliss and emptiness in a very short time. Through the fourth, that experience becomes stabilized. Through the wisdom empowerment, what one has just received becomes difficult to change. It immediately attains stability. And through the fifth, stability is perfected. It is taught that supreme siddhi will then be achieved. The word empowerment ensures the state of inseparable bliss and emptiness you have attained is not only stabilized but becomes perfect, leading to a point of never regressing. So, adding up these classifications, there are 5 types of empowerment in total. The way you classify them is flexible. According to that, the vase empowerment has 2 divisions, the benefiting and enabling empowerments. As we mentioned, the vase empowerment or guru empowerment can be divided into the 10 beneficing and 5 enabling empowerments. Then there are the peaceful beneficing empowerments. Beneficing empowerments are further divided into peaceful and wrathful ones. These are found in the Guhya Garbha Tantra. The ritual composed by His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok should be a peaceful empowerment. The entire content of the Guhya Garbha Tantra includes both peaceful and wrathful sections. The wrathful section primarily discusses the 58 wrathful deities. The peaceful section primarily discusses the 42 peaceful deities. In principle, if the peaceful and wrathful empowerments are completed simultaneously, one can practice the entire cycle of the Dharma. However, when many gurus confer the Guhyagarbha Tantra empowerment, they consider it fully complete if the peaceful empowerment is finished. In the liberation through hearing empowerment, both peaceful and wrathful deities are included. Now here, for the peaceful benefiting empowerment, there are 10 sections such as the 5 essences, the crown, and so forth. According to Longchenpa's Khenpo tradition, the 5 essences are the 5 nectars. I remember they are the 5 nectars. We will discuss this later. In the Zerpa tradition, these include the 5 symbols of the 5 Buddhas, such as the wheel, vajra, and jewel, which represent the 5 Buddha families. These are called the 5 essences, and together they count as one empowerment, leading to the 10 types of empowerment, including the crown and others. As I just mentioned, there are 10 in total: the crown, top ornament, jewel, victory banner, parasol, and so forth. These are called the 10 beneficing empowerments. For the wrathful benefiting empowerment, there are the well-known 28 inner sections that bring benefit, such as the seat, deity, hand emblems, and so forth. First are the sacred seat and the deity empowerments. Whichever wrathful deity is used, along with their various symbols. There are 10 different wrathful ornaments and 15 types of sacred substances for practice. If you take those 10, add the 15, and then include the seat, the deity, and the hand emblems, that makes 28 in total. This is found in the root verses of the Guhyagarbha Tantra and in its commentaries as well. There are 28 wrathful empowerments in total, classified under the beneficing empowerments. While all of these are meant to benefit the disciple, since these do not authorize one to engage in activities such as listening, practicing mantra, and teaching, they are called benefiting empowerments. Why are they called benefiting empowerments? As I said, whether it is the 28 wrathful or the 10 peaceful empowerments, all these empowerments serve to plant roots of virtue and seeds in the disciple. They provide a certain benefit. However, having received them, one is not yet permitted to specifically teach or study the secret mantra, nor to carry out the various activities of pacifying, enriching, magnetizing, or subjugating. These are not yet allowed. Because they belong to a lower stage, they are called beneficing empowerments. They are beneficial to the person, but performing the various activities of the secret mantra is not yet permitted for them. Hence, they are the 10 beneficing empowerments. Now, let's discuss the enabling empowerments. Among the enabling empowerments, the empowerments for listening to the secret teaching and accomplishing siddhi mainly serve to accomplish one's own goal. There are 2 empowerments for self-benefit: the empowerment for listening to the secret teaching and the empowerment for accomplishing siddhi. This might differ slightly from other texts. It seems there's a small difference compared to finding comfort and ease in the nature of mind, but you can look into that when you have the time. Then there are the two teaching the secret and engaging in enlightened activity, mainly serve the purpose of accomplishing the welfare of others. One grants the permission to teach the secret to others, that is, an empowerment that allows you to teach the Guhyagarbha Tantra in the future. The other allows you to engage in enlightened activity. These two are conferred upon those primarily to accomplish the benefit of others. In order to accomplish both purposes, there is the all-pervasive word of the Vajra ruler, empowerment. These five are called enabling empowerments. These five are the enabling empowerments in the Guhyagarbha Tantra. Why are they called that? Because not only are they beneficial, they also grant the potential to accomplish enlightened activities since the actual empowerments are conferred. Yes, that covers it. It is said that although these are like the beneficing empowerments, where receiving them in one's mind stream brings the benefit of maturing qualities. Most importantly, they allow one to help sentient beings by performing activities. From this perspective, they mature that specific capacity. Hence, they are called enabling empowerments. Finally, there are the three profound empowerments. The three profound empowerments are the conferral of the secret empowerment for those who engage in fearless conduct without concern for what is clean or dirty, such as partaking of the 5 meats and the 5 nectars. Regarding the 5 meats and 5 nectars, well, we will discuss them later. I also mentioned them a couple of days ago. Why does the secret mantra use the 5 meats and 5 nectars instead of other offerings? Because in daily life, people regard these things as rather terrifying. To sever the attachment to what is pure and impure, this specific empowerment is given. So for these specific practitioners who engage in fearless conduct, the secret empowerment is given. That is the purpose of the secret empowerment. The wisdom prajna empowerment conferred upon those who practice the fearless conduct of the consort. This has occurred in Tibetan region in the past. However, later, when Atisha Dipamkara arrived in Tibetan region, he saw that the conduct of certain practitioners had not actually reached such a high realization. Some were using this empowerment as an excuse to engage in improper behavior. From then on, the empowerment was conferred through images of the consort or symbolic objects of nectar. Direct practice might exist among truly great Mahasiddhas during their secret conduct, but in general, it does not occur. Therefore, as practitioners, especially those of us studying Tibetan Buddhism, we must be very clear about this. I mentioned this recently. In the process of observing precepts, if you truly find it impossible to keep the pratimoksha vows, the bodhisattva vows, or the secret mantra vows, then you should simply say so honestly. But you must never use the secret mantra as an excuse. This kind of thing has happened before. I heard that in northeast China, someone claiming to be a Tibetan Buddhist guru showed people a statue of Vajrasattva in union with his consort. He would say, "This is what we need to do," speaking in non-standard Chinese. Consequently, many unfortunate things took place. Such incidents damaged the reputation of the secret mantra, and this damage is quite serious. There is a reason why Tibetan Buddhism is frequently slandered nowadays. It doesn't happen without cause. Therefore, while you are studying, you must maintain a pure heart. Our attachments from beginningless time are likely quite heavy. It is precisely because these attachments are so strong that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest these forms to test your mind. Modern life is so often centered on romance and relationships. Before reaching a certain level of maturity, people often spend all their energy and time on things like romantic relationships. So why do the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas deliberately manifest these forms? It is specifically to sever these very impure attachments in our mind stream. As long as such attachments remain, you are not yet what the secret mantra calls a suitable vessel for the teachings. Just recently, not long ago, we were discussing the topics of union and subjugation. A certain few female practitioners kept messaging me, and they weren't just simple inquiries. The content was such that some were asking, "Guru, is it possible to practice union with me? Can I stay over on Sunday?" I'm not sure if it was a mental health issue or something else. In the end, I banned them from the secret mantra classes and revoked their Dharma listening permits immediately. There are these cases, and I feel I should make this clear to everyone. It happens with female practitioners and likely with males as well. In the past, there were even some certain individuals among the monks who went to the cities, instead of propagating the Dharma as they should, destroyed many families and the practice of many female practitioners. Because some female practitioners may have deep faith in the Dharma, but at the same time their mind stream still contains strong afflictions like greed. And unfortunately, that is exactly when certain individuals take advantage of the situation. They find someone's weakness and then claim themselves as a guru or a consort. Ultimately, they bring ruin to themselves and to others. It is a tragic outcome that truly does not have to happen. This is why I feel it is so important to address this matter with you all. It is not just about the fact that they sent some messages that in itself would not be so grave. But the problem is that I have already tried to clarify what the concept of union truly represents in our practice, and how one should maintain faith toward these aspects of the secret mantra. Even if you cannot give rise to such faith, I would still encourage you to remain cautious. It is quite sad to see the state of sentient beings today. That is to say, as soon as people encounter these terms or see these sacred images, various forms of worldly clinging and fixations arise. This is a crucial point that requires our utmost attention within the secret mantra tradition. At this stage, I have found that some people not only fail to understand basic concepts of the secret mantra, but instead use them to fuel their own various afflictions. I truly believe this is not beneficial at all. So regarding these behaviors, it is essential that everyone understands the implications. I also believe that generally in the process of attending these classes, with very few exceptions, I have not granted anyone leave. My guru, Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, was also very strict about attending secret mantra teachings. Generally speaking, unless there is a truly special circumstance, I would really encourage you not to miss even a single day. Missing these lessons can make your personal progress very difficult later on. The Dharma protectors and many other factors may prevent a successful completion. For myself, while attending teachings under my root guru and other teachers, though my time with others was relatively short, I never once missed the secret mantra teachings I attended. Even when I was ill, no matter what, I never missed a class. Not only did I never miss a session, I never even dozed off for a single minute. I worked very hard to complete them fully. Initially, I felt I should not cut off anyone's opportunity to hear the secret mantra mid-course, but the behavior of certain individuals has been so serious that I had no other choice. Sometimes it's not a matter of being embarrassed. I feel I must speak openly with everyone, because in the future, much more serious consequences could arise if these things are left unsaid. Therefore, for those studying the secret mantra, please do not let these teachings be defiled in the future. If your own mindfulness and vigilance are no longer sufficient to guide you, if you find yourself unable to uphold the pratimoksha or other monastic vows, well, please understand that this situation has existed since the Buddha's time. In such cases, you should follow the advice given in Mipham Rinpoche's instructions. Whether you choose to return to lay life or take another path, this is a normal occurrence. It happens within the secret mantra tradition. It is not just among ordinary monks. Even some Dharma teachers face this. But generally speaking, one should never misuse the secret mantra to justify misconduct. Nowadays, some people, when referring to ordained gurus, those who originally maintain very pure monastic precepts, it is common to hear people say, this woman is his dakini, or this is the guru's consort. Some may intend this as praise, but in reality, for an ordained person, whether a tulku, a khenpo, a geshe, or anyone else, if it is claimed that they have a so-called consort or dakini, then such a claim actually means they would no longer meet the qualifications of an ordained teacher. According to the authentic pratimoksha precepts, such a lifestyle simply does not exist for a monk. So please never mix the secret mantra and the pratimoksha precepts together. For a lay teacher, for instance, it might be acceptable to speak this way. There are lay gurus today, but the situation with them is often quite complex. On one hand, their influence can sometimes be very positive. Many people really like certain lay gurus. Female practitioners, in particular, often like these lay gurus, perceiving them as highly compassionate, open-minded, and unconstrained, able to associate with women day and night. Many believe this is what a guru with true qualifications looks like. But in reality, for those who have taken monastic vows, whether they are teachers in the Tibetan or Chinese Buddhist traditions, they should maintain their own duty and proper conduct. So if you haven't actually confirmed the facts, it is best to be very careful with such claims regarding our teachers, whether for Tibetan or Chinese Buddhist gurus. Even as you praise them, it is very possible that your words cause the guru to completely lose their standing as a qualified teacher. This has indeed happened before in our history. A guru might have been originally very pure in their conduct, but because the disciples' praise was misguided or ill-informed. You see, we often have this saying, misguided praise from an unwise person can actually have the same effect as slander. Conversely, even if a wise person criticizes you, it can be like a form of praise. The same goes for biographies written for gurus by misguided disciples. I have read some in the past, and I thought, oh, for this teacher, these disciples' writings have not only failed to benefit him, but have instead caused great harm to his enlightened activities. This phenomenon is actually related to our collective work. Furthermore, between Vajra brothers and sisters, if the precepts of a certain Vajra sibling are not pure, you can speak to them directly about it, or they can be disciplined according to our monastic rules. Beyond that, even casual joking about the opposite sex, especially for those who are ordained, it is best to avoid making such jokes entirely. Some people have a habit of pointing fingers and saying this person is this way or that person is that way. In reality, the relationship between those people might be perfectly pure. But if our words are spread from one person to the next like a wildfire, then eventually public opinion can become a truly terrifying force. In China, there was a famous actress who, in her final moments, left a haunting reminder: gossip is a fearful thing. Thus, it can happen that certain ordinary monks, who are originally very pure in their precepts and conduct in every way, end up in a tragic situation simply because someone slandered them to achieve a personal goal. So, while you focus on your practice, I would really encourage you to stay mindful of these issues. To be honest, many teachers today might feel uncomfortable discussing these sensitive topics, perhaps because they find them too embarrassing or difficult to address openly. Particularly in this day and age, many choose to speak only of what is dignified and free, while ignoring the difficult realities. But since I am here to share these teachings with you, it is better to bring these things out and analyze them together. Otherwise, without a clear explanation, you might find yourself in a confusing position during your practice. What looks like spiritual practice on the surface might actually be the accumulation of non-virtuous karma. If you are going to act, you should at least have the clarity to know, I am currently creating negative karma, or I am currently practicing. It is truly best not to mix genuine practice and the creation of negative karma together. If the two are mixed, then our study and contemplation lose their meaning. And without the guidance of study and contemplation, just look at how many confused beings there are, caught in the cycle of creating non-virtuous karma all day long. I believe that the whole purpose of our study and contemplation is to help us, at the very least, minimize the creation of such negative karma. If your karma and afflictions are extremely heavy and manifest directly before you, then no one, neither oneself nor others, can easily overcome that power. You see, the force of karma is even more powerful than the rushing momentum of a great river. Once that karma begins to manifest, most people find it incredibly difficult to control. In those moments, there is often simply no way to turn back. But if you clearly know that something is wrong, and yet you deliberately choose to create that karma, to knowingly violate the rules is never a good path. As I mentioned earlier, the wisdom empowerment is specifically conferred upon those who are truly qualified to engage in the consort conduct. The fourth empowerment conferred on those who practice the fearless conduct of the evenness of phenomena. This is also called the word empowerment. These three empowerments are called the three profound or higher empowerments. As I mentioned, in works like Lama Yangtik and Manjushri Great Perfection, one relies on the guru's body, speech, and mind to confer the great perfection empowerment. In such instances, there is absolutely no need for the aforementioned nectar or consort images. None of these are required. Next, we will discuss how empowerment is established. Empowerment is the indispensable initial entrance for the practice of mantra, because without receiving empowerment, one cannot enter. Just as for our current class, those who haven't received empowerment cannot attend. To enter this Vajra vehicle, empowerment must first take place. It is indispensable. The reason is that the extremely difficult to realize, primordially indwelling mandala of the ground, the inseparable truth of purity and evenness, is directly encountered through the profound empowerment ritual. That is the true power of empowerment. Within our very mind streams, there exists the ultimate truth of non-dual primordial purity and primordial evenness. In other words, the Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, resides non-dually within every single being. This ever-present reality is what we call the mandala of the ground. Through the conditions of the profound empowerment rituals, this potential is forcefully made to manifest. Indeed, empowerment possesses inconceivable power and blessing. Without having received empowerment, it is very likely we would never be able to unlock this potential in our lifetime, and it might not manifest for dozens of eons to come. But through empowerment, think of a seed. If left alone, it may never find the strength to sprout on its own. But once it is nourished with water, it immediately begins its journey toward maturity. Empowerment acts in the same way, as a powerful catalyst that brings our inner potential to light. Therefore, this is the special method for bringing forth the maturity of the wisdom of the four Vajras. This is the capability of empowerment and the very reason why it is performed. Mipham Rinpoche's an overview of the Guhyagarbha Tantra is remarkably concise in its wording. However, if we can truly grasp the profound meaning within it, we will effectively hold the master key to the entire framework of the secret mantra. This is the skillful method of empowerment. This is how it works. If one were to wonder how the process of maturity occurs, of course, empowerment requires the gathering of certain conditions. It is by means of the inconceivable power of the gathering of 2 root causes and 4 contributing circumstances. In fact, empowerment either produces the authentic realization of profound mantra or awakens the potential for this to occur in the mind stream. That is the essential nature of empowerment. Empowerment also depends on what we will discuss next. It is not that everyone can receive it. It can only be received when conditions are fully gathered. Regarding these conditions, we have previously mentioned the 2 root causes and 4 contributing circumstances. Within such inconceivable circumstances, some individuals with sharp capacity can directly manifest the state of Buddhahood. Take, for example, King Indrabhuti of the past, or many other masters in the history of the secret mantra. When the Guru conferred the empowerment upon them, their realization and liberation occurred simultaneously. In a single instant, right then and there, simply by looking at a crystal, they immediately recognized the nature of their mind. They directly realized the authentic meaning of the fruition empowerment. The Buddha also conferred what is called a fruition empowerment at the end of the 10th bhumi. There are indeed cases where this realization manifests instantly, but there is also the kind that does not manifest immediately. For most people, including when we receive empowerment, it is the capacity of Tathagatagarbha and the potential for wisdom in our mind streams that is being activated, bringing the hope of imminent maturity. The power of the 4 kayas increases, becoming more sublime and more enriched. That inner capacity is being established. To be specific, today we will only discuss the 2 root causes, though there are 2 causes and 4 circumstances in total. Let's look at the causes. I will explain one for now. The harmonious root cause is the exaltation of the purity and evenness of the nature of phenomena that inseparably pervades a disciple's channels, winds, vital essences, and mind. Now, this is something that everyone must be able to explain from memory, even without the book. For empowerment, the 2 root causes and 4 circumstances. The first is the harmonious root cause. What is the harmonious root cause? It means that every disciple, every individual is already fully endowed within their subtle winds, channels, and essences, and within the mind as well. What is it that we possess? In an unbiased and inseparable way, we possess the 4 kayas, the Nirmana Kaya, Sambhoga Kaya, Dharma Kaya, and Svabhavika Kaya. Simply put, our true nature is one of great bliss, purity, and evenness. As I just mentioned, if this were not already present in our mind stream, there would be no way for empowerment to make this nature manifest. It's like no matter how much you try to empower a stone has no winds, channels, or vital essences. It has no mind. And without a mind, within the very nature of that stone, you could confer 4, 5, or 18 empowerments. It wouldn't make any difference. Afterward, would the stone have become a Buddha? Would its Tathagatagarbha have manifested? On a relative level, clearly it has not. So, generally speaking, the first harmonious root cause for empowerment is a pujjala endowed with the 6 constituents. These 6 refer to what is taught in the Ratnavali, the 4 elements plus space and consciousness. In total, these make up the 6 constituents. In other contexts, vital essences and channels are mentioned, along with the 4 elements or other descriptions. But regardless, the recipient of empowerment must be endowed with body, speech, and mind. For instance, beings in the formless realm do not possess all 6 constituents, so it is very difficult to confer empowerment upon them. As for the devas in the form realm, it is also quite difficult for them to receive empowerment. Thus, the first cause is the harmonious root cause. As far as we are concerned, this is something we all possess. We have the winds, channels, and vital essences. We have the mind. We possess the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, and wind. along with mind, space, and the physical body. This is very important. Without this cause, it would be impossible to receive empowerment. But as far as we are concerned, we all possess it fully. This cause is fully present. Next is the simultaneous root cause. This refers to the necessity of having the specific sacred substances present for each empowerment. These include the substances of the first empowerment, such as the vase and so forth. The water inside the vase has also been consecrated. The substances of the second, the bodhicitta from Guru and consort. These could be sacred substances from Guru Rinpoche and his consort. But where these are not available today, we generally use a symbolic representation, such as the nectar within a kapala. This is the second empowerment substance, the sacred object of the secret empowerment, the substance of the third, the prajna consort. Nowadays, as there are no actual empowerments involving a real consort, an image of a dakini is used as a representation, the substance of the fourth, the expression of words and indications. In other words, things like crystals, scripts, or pointing to the open sky to represent its meaning. These are the substances of the fourth empowerment. All of these are consecrated and endowed with the blessing of those with the exceptional wisdom view of mantra. This is very important as a guru. Of course, this is not something a disciple can control. This is the responsibility of the guru. While the harmonious root cause requires the disciple to be endowed with the six constituents, this part concerns the guru. For a guru to confer empowerment, ideally they should have a direct vision of the deity or at least receive a sign in their dreams. At the same time, the mantras for the empowerment must be fully perfected. Furthermore, they must have achieved a certain level of realization through their own practice. You see, if the guru lacks spiritual realization, it is very difficult for the disciples to truly receive that empowerment. Moreover, regarding the substances for the four empowerments, the guru must hold a profound view of each sacred substance. Without the view of non-dual purity and evenness, the water in the vase is just water, the nectar is just nectar, and the crystal is just crystal. So first, for the guru, the view of purity and evenness is crucial. Second is the enlightened intent, being inseparable from the intent of all Buddhas. In this manner, the empowerment substances are first blessed and consecrated. Only then can the empowerment be conferred upon the disciples. This is what is required of a qualified guru. Let's stop at these two root causes for today. As for the four contributing circumstances, we will discuss them in the next class.
Bandangara Badma Sodargye Bandangara Badma Sodargye Bandangara Badma Sodargye